There's an instantly amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There's an instantly amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There's an instantly amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Friday, June 5th, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the World Crypto Network. Good morning, Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is down 1.58% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,715, a high of 9,882, and a low of 9,625. Volume is 4,421 Bitcoins, about normal for a weekday. $1 will buy you 10,292 Satoshis. Sweet. The market continues to lean margin long, with 85% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance is at 65.78%. I'd like to start off with a reading from 1935's own It Can't Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis, about the United States of America. This was at perhaps 3 a.m. on the morning of June 13th. Dormus stayed home, writing sedition, all afternoon and the evening of the 13th, hiding the sheets under pages of newspaper in the Franklin stove in his study so that he could touch them off with a match in the case of a raid, a trick he'd learned from Carl Billinger's anti-Nazi Fatherland. This new opus was devoted to murders ordered by Commissioner Effingham Swan. On the 1st and 2nd of July, when he sauntered uptown, he was rather noticeably encountered by the same weighty drummer who'd picked him up in the Hotel Wessex lobby before, and who now insisted on their having a drink together. Dormus escaped and was conscious that he was being followed by an unknown young man, flamboyant in apricot-colored polo shirt and gray bags, whom he recognized as having worn an MM uniform at a parade in June. On July 3rd, rather panicky, Dormus drove to Truman Webb's, taking an hour of zigzagging to do it, and warning Truman not to permit any more printing till he should have a release. When Dormus went home, Sissy lightly informed him that Chad has insisted she go out to an M&M picnic with him on the next afternoon, the 4th, and that, information or no, she had refused. She was afraid of him, surrounded by his ready playmates. That night of the 3rd, Dormus slept only in 6 spasms. He was reasonably convinced that he would be arrested before dawn. The night was overcast and electric and uneasy. The crickets sounded as though they were piping under compulsion in a rhythm of terror. He lay throbbing to their sound. He wanted to flee, but how? And where? And how could he leave his threatened family? For the first time in years, he wished that he was sleeping beside the impenetrable Emma, beside her small earthy hillock of a body. He laughed to himself. What could Emma do to protect him against Minutemen? Just scream. And what then? But he, who always slept with his door shut to protect his sacred aloneness, popped out of his bed to open the door, that he might have the comfort of hearing her breathe, and the fiercer Mary stir in slumber, and Sissy's occasional young whimper. He was awakened at dawn by early firecrackers. He heard the trampling of feet. He lay taut. Then he awoke again at 7:30 and was slightly angry that nothing happened. The MMs brought out their burnished helmets and all the rideable horses in the neighborhood, some of them known as the most superior plow horses, for the great celebration of the new freedom on the morning of 4th of July. There was no post of the American Legion in the jaunty parade. That organization had been completely suppressed, and a number of American Legion members had been shot. Others had tactfully taken posts in the itself. The troops, in hollow square, with the ordinary citizens humbly jammed in behind them, and the Jessup family rather hoity-toity on the outskirts, were addressed by ex-Governor Isham Hubbard, a fine, ruddy old rooster who could say cock-a-doo with more profundity than any fowl since Aesop. He announced that the chief had an extraordinary resemblance to Washington, Jefferson, and William B. McKinley, and to Napoleon on his better days. The trumpets blew, the MMs gallantly marched off nowhere in particular, and Doremus went home, feeling much better after his laugh. Following noon dinner, since it was raining, he proposed a game of contract to Emma, Mary, and Sissy, with Mrs. Candy as a volunteer umpire. But when the thunder of Hill County disquieted him, whenever he was dummy, he ambled to a window. The rain ceased, the sun came out for a false, hesitating moment, and the wet grass looked unreal. Clouds with torn bottoms, like the hem of a ragged skirt, were driven down the valley, cutting off the bulk of Mount Faithful. The sun went out in a mammoth catastrophe, and instantly the world was in unholy darkness, which poured into the room. Darkness washed over the dude like a dark stairs took us on a moonlit prairie night. That was a little pre-recording of the introduction and the reading because Restream It tricked me this morning. I thought I was live on YouTube, but the graphic is too small, and maybe I used quote marks in my title. That's probably a no-no. It's something about little Bobby dropped tables. Why did you name your kid Bobby, semicolon, drop tables? Something like that. So we're checking out Bitcoin. The big story in Bitcoin is still that Bloomberg expects Bitcoin to double to $20,000 this year. Everybody's talking about it, even Markets Insider that's forcing me to not use ad block. Where is my ad blocker? I need better tools. Anyway, we can't really talk about that because in Buffalo, New York, police were walking by this kind old gentleman. He seems to be about 75 years of age. Let's see what happens here in Buffalo, New York.
He's not a He's bleeding out of his ear. Get him better. What the fuck you walking up on me? I'm on the ground. Grab him. Get the fuck away. Y'all don't want this shit.
Right there, finally someone is knelt down. One of the National Guard troops is helping out the man on the ground. You can still see the blood leaking from his ear even at this paused shot. How long did it take before someone helped the man on the ground? And why did the police work on arresting these men instead of helping the man on the ground with the visible blood leaking from his ear? Everybody stand around. Look at all the guilty men standing around the man they hurt. Look, the guy who knocked him down tries to stop, and they're like, no, just keep going. This is a war. The old man with the blood leaking out of his ear, the old man that you pushed to the ground just a second ago. Remember that? Oh, yeah, he was asking a question. Is he a threat to you? Like, could you guys beat the shit out of this old man? Let's see. Club. I see a lot of clubs. He doesn't have any clubs. This is a bad deal. They are holding a whole flush right here. Look at this. A flush versus a bunch of twos. Bam. Old man goes down. Blood leaking from his ear. A guy tries to stop. Yeah, he's like a human on the ground. We should stop and do first aid. No. Keep going. And this guy's like, oh, man, what a pain in the ass. I got to call in to support. I can't see his face in this zoomed in version, but I'll make a new thing just for this. Let's see. Okay. Oh, it's still cropped though. Open office, open broadcaster. You fail me. You fail me again, open broadcaster. Anyway, so yeah, that happened in Buffalo, New York, and we're going to talk about that more. And they're actually playing this on all the TV stations, so I'm sure you've seen it 100 times. But if you haven't, he was 75. He is 75 years old. He's apparently alive at the hospital. Eventually, someone helped him. Naturally, the first thing you want to do is maybe put a handkerchief or some kind of gauze on that bleeding ear. And bleeding out of the ear is a real problem. That's a possible concussion. He hit his head fully on the cement after he was knocked down. So you've really got a lot of first aid options that you need to be employing immediately. If this was a human being on the ground, if it wasn't just a piece of meat or another protester. So, oh well, so much for Buffalo, New York. These officers, 2 of them have been suspended because, they could be redeemed, obviously. And the rest of them who just walked by and didn't provide first aid, nothing's happened to them. So, oh well. Bitcoin mining difficulty hasn't done this since 2018's 3K Bitcoin bottom. Difficulty is copying its $3,100 bear market behavior in a move that set the scene for a bull run to 14,000. Bitcoin difficulty on course for a historic 3rd adjustment downward. You have to complete the words. Historic 3rd what? This week, difficulty adjusted down by 9.3%. That followed a downward shift 2 weeks previous for 6%. The next adjustment is also negative, currently forecast at 7%. It will be the 3rd time ever that 3 back-to-back negative difficulty adjustments have occurred. It's kind of like the Chicago Bulls of difficulty adjustments. Woo! Bullishness building in Bitcoin options market. Data suggests. Well, I'm glad they talked to data. Option market traders look to be placing bets for a continued upward move in Bitcoin, according to a key metric. The put-call open interest ratio, which measures the number of put options open relative to call options, fell to 0.43 on Tuesday, the lowest since March 24th, according to Skew. The data takes into account open interest at leading derivatives exchanges Deribit, OKX, CME, LedgerX, and Bakkt. Notably, the ratio has declined sharply from 0.81 to 0.43 over the last few weeks. The put-call ratio can gauge the overall sentiment of traders, and the lower the ratio dictates that more traders are buying calls, bullish bets, than puts, bearish bets, according to Leonard Neo, head of research at Stack, a provider of cryptocurrency trackers and index funds. The decline towards 0.4 indicates that some sort of bullishness is building. Then again, how about the opposite? Bitcoin trader Axe's 4-year bull cycle forecast after 10K triple top. The price of Bitcoin is at risk of falling to $6,000. A prominent trader, known as Pentur Hootie, warns after a 14% price drop. Let's see. Why? Since the price of Bitcoin dropped to $3,600 on March 12th, it has increased nearly 180% in less than 3 months, as it peaked at 10,440. Data shows that the first phase of the recovery from the 3,000s to 7,000 was primarily fueled by retail investors and the institutional market. Oh, so that's everyone. Retail investors and the institutional market. Whoa. From 7,700 upwards, open interest and volume on Bitcoin's futures exchanges increased rapidly. The retail-driven rally and institutions evolved into a futures-driven upsurge which caused volatility to spike. From May 8th to 10th, the price of Bitcoin dropped from $10,050 to $8,100, around 20% in 2 days. Also, on June the 2nd, Bitcoin declined by 12% in 2 days, seeing a heightened level of volatility. The increasing vulnerability of the short-term price trend of Bitcoin, rising volatility, and the triple top formation on the daily chart of Bitcoin are the main factors that can cause a drop to 6,000. Pentur Hootie said, "Triple top on daily, bearish pattern will trigger at close below 8,000 with a target to 6,000. Let's see if he's right. Let's check in with the Magic 8 Ball, the predictors of predictors, prognosticator of prognosticator, the only one who really knows the truth about the price of Bitcoin is the Magic 8 Ball. Which way will it go? Oh, ball of balls, predictor of predictors, the smartest ball around, the heaviest ball, the biggest ball, the longest ball, the heaviest ball. The most proof of ball. And now, will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? Here we go. We're shaking the ball. It's happening. And now, it says, my reply is no. My reply is no. The ball hath spoken. We may see a downtrend in Bitcoin. But first, the price of Bitcoin was down 0.92% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,709, a high of 9,882, and a low of 9,625. That's $1 for 10,299 Satoshis, on sale now. Volume was normal for a weekday, with 4,236 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean margin long, with 85% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance is at 65.77%. Give us a thumbs up and a share. We've got 20 people watching us live on YouTube. Woo! I'll bet it could be 40 if we all used our Twitter accounts and sharing and commenting and all the things. And it wouldn't cost us anything. Just have to click on more stuff, which I know it's awful. CoinSure writes, criminalization of recreational drug use created a well-funded and organized black market economy that by necessity went hand in hand with ever-escalating levels of firepower. What you have seen over the past few weeks is fruits of lazy thinking that more violence can solve any problem. And he's responding to this amazing comparison of photographs. On the left, you see the police in the 1950s. Hardly any weapons at all, not militarized. And on the right, the current police. Army units, camouflage, machine guns on top of armored cars. The previous police, the current police. Rick Wilson writes, I usually say my F this guy segment for our podcast, but Officer Aaron Torgalski of Buffalo Police Department Fuck that guy. Knock an elderly man to the ground, then casually walk by as he's bleeding on the street. And now, the news. Christopher Bouzet. If you are so terrified of the people you are elected to govern that you need to build a fence around another fence, it's time for you to resign. Richard Feynman. Human stupidity is more infectious than any other disease. Murtowski is still considering changing her position. If only she could be convinced. Shout out to Dr. Rachel Bidekoffer, who says Confederate monuments were erected in the 1930s as segregation began to get challenged and ended. They were put there to remind Southern blacks who the boss was. They also honor a bunch of traitors that tried to destroy America. If you want them, host them on private property. Well said. Senate Democrats held a moment of silence for 8 minutes and 46 seconds in Emancipation Hall at the Capitol. Cory Booker led the ceremony, standing next to a statue of Frederick Douglass. Why was not a single Republican present at the moment of silence? Not a single one. After Pearl Harbor in 1941, FDR refused suggestions to surround the White House with light tanks because he didn't want it to look as if our democracy was under siege. Last night, Las Vegas did open as a tour de Meester, usually writing about Bitcoin, but today writing about Las Vegas, showing a picture of our very own D Casino, which does have a Bitcoin ATM in its lobby and accepts Bitcoin at its restaurants and for hotel rooms. I don't get paid for that, but that's a true statement. Tour de Meester writes, people are understandably tired of the quarantines. During the protests, most were maskless. Now Vegas and many other places are opening. I imagine it'll take another 2 to 4 weeks before we'll know how many extra COVID-19 infections these gatherings are causing. And as you can see from the video right here from Las Vegas, from the D Hotel and Casino, all of the employees are wearing masks as they don't want to spread the disease, but apparently none of the customers are wearing masks, or very few of them, because they are just fine with spreading disease. Here we go, Team Virus. Let's take a look. Let's see. Customer not wearing mask. No mask, no mask, no mask. Yeah, raw breathers. Lots of, there we go, wearing a mask. Respect. There we go, wearing a mask. And he's got the giant drink right there. This is a big sign of people who are about to get sick in Vegas and have a good time, is those horrible giant drinks. You can't see, we're too zoomed in. The zoom doesn't work sometimes. Anyway, we're watching this Vegas video from the long bar at the D. No one's practicing social distancing. Some people have masks, respect. Other people don't. All of the employees are wearing masks, respect to the D. No respect to Twitter video that does this all the time. Twitter video will inconsistently play you video. Here we go. We should have a little action music there. Oh, that guy was with Jesus. I hate to identify a guy on TV, but let's read his shirt. It says, y'all need Jesus. So there you go. Shout out, fellow. Fellow without a mask says that we need Jesus. So, okay. That's cool. Respect. This is the D. Look, it's packed. It is really packed in there. And there's the gentleman with the large drink. Hallmark of Vegas. Usually you get a very sugary, heavy alcoholic drink there. The beginning of many bad nights. But respect to them. At least they're wearing masks. They don't want to spread the disease. Everyone that's wearing a mask is like, Spreading disease is fine with me. There's no way I could be sick. But the problem is everyone can be sick. And you can't quite tell, but all the dealers and the dancers are all wearing masks. So good on the D, trying not to spread the virus. Not so sure about the customers. But yes, we're going to see what happens. Vegas is open. I don't know. We'll see. Shout out to the Lego company. I haven't double checked this to confirm this is true, but from the internet, it says, holy shit, Lego donated $4 million to black charities, and they pulled all Lego police sets from the shelves. Again, I don't know if that's true, but I like the idea. And if it's not true, maybe we can make it happen, because it's time to stop pretending to be police. They're not really laudable at this point, unfortunately. Latin America becomes the latest virus hotspot. India surge gains force. So we are still seeing the coronavirus spread in other countries and in the United States. As it says in the quote, more than a dozen U.S. states have seen confirmed cases increase in the last week at a pace faster than the week before, according to a Wall Street Journal analysis of Johns Hopkins data. Pay it no mind. Ignore the man behind the curtain with the virus. It's a pretty interesting tweet right here from Brent Staples at BrentNYT. He says, white newsrooms only hired black reporters at all because of the civil unrest of the 1960s. African-American reporters at the time could actually tell you which riot had got them hired. Interesting little historical footnote there, huh? House Democrats have introduced a sweeping policy reform measure named after George Floyd that calls for new national policing standards and accreditations. And spoiler alert, Republican Mitch McConnell, the man who stole the Supreme Court seat from Merrick Garland, won't let it pass. Mitch McConnell won't let anything pass. He's blocked more than 400 House bills just this term. Mitch McConnell, the worst person in America? I think so. Maybe Trump. I don't know, it's tough, right? There's a lot of people in America. Nancy Pelosi says soldiers on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, Bureau of Prisons officers in Lafayette Square, the National Park Service handling peaceful protesters. Who's in charge? What's the chain of command, and by what authority do these National Guard people come in from other states? Well, spoiler alert, Nancy, the District of Columbia is not a state, so maybe you should grant statehood to the District of Columbia, and then they could block that. Nancy's describing things as scary and inappropriate. Should we take a look? I guess so. Let's see. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House.
And that's why we're asking, but what authority is the president sending people from these other states into D.C.? Who do they report to? Do they report to their governors? Is there a chain of command here? But I think what they did on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial was so stunning. That's why the word militarization is in my letter. It was scary. Now, my daughter, Alexandra, who is a journalist and a filmmaker, many years in the news, I say she crossed over to the other side. Did they say does that mean?
Yeah, even I don't care. But yes, it's very nice, Nancy. She wrote a letter. Okay, cool. Letters. This is pretty interesting if it holds up. We're having a shift in, let's see, these are white college voters in 2016 exit polls versus 2020 polls. So previously, Republicans were leading in Arizona by 6 points. That shifted a full 16-point swing to the Democrats, now leading by 10 points. In Ohio, Republicans were leading by 25 points. That's a 24-point drop to a 1-point lead for the Republicans. That's very shocking. Another shocking one is Texas, a 31-point lead for the Republicans turns into a 1-point lead for the Democrats. That's a 32-point swing And Wisconsin, the Democratic lead of 12% grows to 17%. So these are major moves. If Texas goes Democratic, the entire national election is over. That's it. Also, if any of these other 3 out of 4 go, as Christopher Bouzet writes, apparently Americans don't like being shot in the face with rubber bullets and tear gassed. I wonder how that works out. This was a pretty classic but inappropriate, so everyone should keep their kids away from the TV and what have you here. This is from a council meeting, I think, from the Los Angeles City Council, something like that. It's about the LAPD, and it's only 30 seconds. So I think we should just watch it and just check out this council meeting from Los Angeles.
Thank you. Jeremy Fresh, followed by Juan Ramirez.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes.
Black Lives Matter, defund the police. I find it disgusting that the LAPD is slaughtering peaceful protesters on the street. I had 2 friends go to the protest in Beverly Hills a couple days ago, and the protest was peaceful until the police showed up with their excessive violent force, shooting rubber bullets and throwing tear gas. Is this what you think of protecting and serving? Because I think it's bullshit. Fuck you, Michael Moore. I refuse to call you an officer or a chief because you don't deserve those titles. You are a disgrace. Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Thank you, Juan Ramirez.
What a closing. What a fantastic closing. Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Oh, the parliamentary procedure thrown in at the end. Just a side note, the police chief in Los Angeles is also named Michael Moore. It's not Michael Moore, the filmmaker. So just a side note there. But yeah, pretty funny little clip there from a Los Angeles council meeting of some kind, an online council meeting. And I guess we're going back-to-back funnies. We've got to get this, the heart out here. Things are just too serious. So let's listen to this fella. He's quite a character. Let's listen to what he has to say today. Oh, come on, Twitter. Just because I rewound to the beginning. Oh, Twitter. Really? Really now? It's okay.
Hi, what is...
Oh, that's loud. Okay. Thank you, Twitter. You're like really playing ball today. All right, here we go one more time.
What's your name?
My name is Big Dick Daddy, and I'm from Cincinnati.
Big Daddy from Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
That rhymes.
I saw you making some gestures at the police. I was wondering what's going on. What's going on here today?
Well, the cops shot somebody down here a couple nights ago, and they're gonna just walk away like it's no big deal. And just people like these fine folks right here say, no, it's enough. Give us a reason, give us an excuse, and we want to hold somebody accountable.
Okay.
You can't just go around killing people. Can you? I
No.
can't. I know
No.
I can't. I mean,
No.
there's lots of people, sure, I'd like to put a stick in, but, you know.
How long is all this going to go on?
It's going to go on till it's over.
Till it's over? What's going to make this over? What are there specific demands that these people want, that you and these fellow people want?
I would like to have some pussy, and that would make it over for me. Some real good pussy.
Well, have a great day. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you very much.
And there you go, Big Dick Daddy from Cincinnati. Would just like to have some pussy, some really good pussy. So there you go. It was worth it. It's a little loud on the ears. I'm in pain, but it was worth it. William Barr says there was no correlation between his decision to clear Lafayette Square and the president's walk through the park a few minutes later. As Lawrence O'Donnell writes, William Barr does not care that you know he's lying. Barr is Trump. More information on the weapons used against American citizens. Nathan Bacca at Nathan Bacca TV writes, breaking. Police canisters gathered by WUSA 9 crews Monday night show federal police did use artificial CS tear gas in addition to natural OC gas on Black Lives Matter Washington, D.C. protests, asking the U.S. Park Police and Donald Trump for a response on statements claiming otherwise. We have the shells. We have the evidence. People were tear gassed in Lafayette Park. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, and I'm not sure what a good idea this is, and I don't know how this plays into the rest of the horrifying videos that we're showing you today, but in Atlanta, they, I don't know if attacked is a right word, but they used spray guns, water guns, against a police officer. Let's watch the video. So they soak him really good. He's in his car's a little wet. He is mad. Like, they're taking an awful risk here. And then, yeah, they're very lucky they don't run anyone over and that no one gets shot right here. He's running his siren. He is super mad. So I don't know. Maybe this is an old clip or something. Maybe this is from another time. But yeah, that was very weird. Speaking of very weird things, here we are in Las Vegas. They are reopening the casinos, but they're temperature checking people. Okay, let's count the ways, and even just a normal person like me can see the problem with this. Well, first of all, have you guys ever used that temperature gun? I have. You can buy them on Amazon. The first thing they say is not for human use. Right, this temperature gun is not for human use. The second thing I'll say is, having used it, these temperature guns have a variance of about 5 degrees. So if your temperature was 100, it could say 95. If your temperature was 105, it could say 100. So if you had a normal 98.6, it's likely going to show in a range from 93 to 102. So that's the first problem, is it's just bad gear. The second problem is that asymptomatic people, right, people who are pre-symptomatic, the pre-getting sick, but they still have it, they carry the disease, but they don't get a fever yet, but they can spread the disease. So this is like security theater at the airport. You know, they make you take off your shoes and your belt, and they make the grandmother get out of the wheelchair, and they, you know, scan the wheelchair and everything, all the little details. This is just to make people feel good. So people are definitely taking their lives into their own hands when they travel across state lines to another place to go gamble with a whole bunch of other people who just traveled across state lines to go gamble together. It's kind of like if you could describe the best possible way to spread the COVID virus. I would say, let's get everyone to gather together in one place and all breathe the same air and get really drunk and spray each other with what are they called? Droplets from your mouth. So, no. Let's move on. None of that. Oh, yeah, Murkowski's still thinking about it. Murkowski and Susan Collins are the two Republicans that always go, oh, my, brutal, horrible things are happening. Oh, we should do something. But when it's time to vote for impeachment, they say nothing. When it's time to come out and endorse Joe Biden, they say nothing. When it's time to call for the president's resignation because brutality in the streets continues for 10 days now, he says nothing. He has no plan. We don't know what we're doing. The best plan we got was a couple days ago, former President Obama came on TV and said we could talk to the mayors and we could go ground up from the mayors. That's the current best possible plan for solving the protests in the street. Other people might have looked at these protests and said, well, if they charge one of the police officers, because let's say right away they got out in front of it, they fired all 4 officers, right? Never happened before. Truly amazing. Boom, 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 boom. 4 of them not suspended like in Buffalo, because, you know, this is what you suspend people for. If they'd killed him, you could have fired. But this is suspendable in Buffalo. Oh, you should take some days off, man. The rest of you guys are cool, but just some days off. So, yeah, they suspended him in Buffalo. But in the actual George Floyd case, they fired the 4 officers right away. Then we got a charge, right, which was pretty amazing. Police officer charged with 3rd-degree murder. Then recently they moved the charge up from 3rd degree to 2nd degree, which I agree with, but I think is going to be hard to prove. And everyone really wants a conviction, so let's take what we can get. Then they charged the other 3 officers. So now we have 4 officers charged. We're pretty much at the full possibilities of what the justice system in Minneapolis can do to stop these protests, right? To assuage them, to give them. What more could be given from Minneapolis? I mean, actually, Minneapolis is disbanding the police department. We'll talk more on that later. Check that out. And that's good. And there could be police brutality laws like the one who went through the House. But that's not what the people who can pass it in the Senate are talking about, and that's not the person who signed it is talking about. So we have no plan, and we're just going to keep going forward. But at least he has a wall now, so that's good. Speaking of the plan, maybe we should check out the plan right here from White House spokesman Hogan Gidley, the Gidster. Let's see. We'll just do the zoom in. I'm tired of Twitter full screening me. And also the loudness, you monster Twitter. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens.
Conversation that he had with the president then after he left that statement and went on to the White House, Hogan?
First of all, let me make the point that it's the president's decision alone whether or not to invoke the Insurrection Act. He was elected, he was voted on by the American people to be in the office of the presidency, be in the Oval Office. He alone makes these decisions. I'm not going to get into a private conversation between the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense. What I can tell you is that the president wants all options on the table to protect the American people. And what we've seen systematically across this country is in a
All options are on the table. Uh-oh. Hey, here's a nice tweet about Bitcoin from my friend Jesse Powell over at Kraken. Jesse says, hashtag Bitcoin. Oh, and it makes this little logo thing. Isn't that nice? Price, $9,800. Quantity remaining, 2,500,000. People viewing this product right now, all 7.8 billion people on the earth. Description, do the math. Good stuff from Jesse. Oh, this was pretty fun. So Laura Ingraham seems to have different opinions depending on what sport you play for and, of course, what race or color you happen to be. When LeBron and Kevin Durant were having political opinions, she told them to shut up and dribble. Now that Drew Brees is having political opinions that she agrees with, suddenly it's great and everyone should have their own opinion and everyone has a right to the opinion. It's pretty amazing. You can watch the actual video and she's completely hypocritical about this. We used to have a thing called being hypocritical. Let me see it. Hypocrite. Let me try to help you guys out with what this means. Let's see. Oh, I want the full definition. Come on. Oh, there's more. Hypocritical advertising. Characterized by behavior that contradicts what one claims to believe or feel. Characterized by hypocrisy. Said that it was hypocritical to demand respect from students without respecting them in return. A hypocritical gesture of modesty and virtue. Robert Graves. Also, being a person who acts in contradiction to his or her stated beliefs or feelings. Being a hypocrite. A person who puts a false appearance of virtue or religion. Puts on a false appearance. A person who acts in contradiction to her stated beliefs and feelings. Let's check out Laura Ingraham, hypocrite. A little bit of volume, but not that much. Here we go, full screen. Giving it a shot.
Wise to seek political advice from someone who gets paid $100 million a year to bounce a ball. Oh, and LeBron and Kevin, you're great players, but no one voted for you. Millions elected Trump to be their coach. So keep the political commentary to yourself, or as someone once said, shut up and dribble.
Well, he's allowed to have his view about what kneeling and the flag means to him. I mean, he's a person. He has some worth, I would imagine. I mean, this is beyond football, though. This is totalitarian conduct. This is Stalinist. And by the way, on the streets of New Orleans, we're looking at live pictures. They're shouting "F Drew Brees."
Wow.
That's what this moment has done to the beautiful team spirit of the New Orleans Saints.
He's a great Christian
Saints.
man.
It's always unwise.
Wasn't that great that the people on the street are affecting the team of the Saints, the football team, you know, American football? Oh, yeah, that was funny. All right, let's keep going. We need that kind of thing to keep us going through these hard times. Oh, are we going to talk about Ukraine some more? Is that going to be one of the planks of the election? Is that something that people are going to bring up a lot in the comments? Because Ukrainian prosecutors find no evidence against Hunter Biden. So there's no evidence against Hunter Biden. A peaceful protester recommended buying Bitcoin on live TV as a way to opt out of the failed monetary system. That sounds cool. Let's see if they have the video. Oh, I accept the cookies. Please give me the cookies. No, of course they don't have the video. No, oh, here we go. You have to click on another thing. You click on another thing. Survey says Reddit video. No. Oh, full screen not playing is even more satisfying. Oh. Univision.
I'm deeply sorry for your loss. Unfortunately, we live in a system that will not allow us to thrive or strive and has continually been literally on our necks. So my macro solution for this problem for everyone is to opt out and exit the economy as a whole. And the way we do that is by buying Bitcoin. Thank you.
That was my favorite. That was great. That was a lot of clicking to get to this, but first of all, he's wearing a deer stalker. You can't. I've got to fix this stupid cropped video thing, but he's wearing a deer stalker, which is a Sherlock Holmes hat, right? So he's wearing the Sherlock Holmes hat. Let me decrease the crop on the top. No, I don't want to do this. We'll do it later. But yeah, he's wearing a deer stalker. And he seems a little socially awkward. Of course, it was Univision. It couldn't have been a bigger channel. This is the Spanish language channel. I'm just saying it's in proportion to the other channels. It has less viewers, and it would have been cool if he did this in Spanish. Y comprar Bitcoin. Yo tengo Bitcoin. Yo necesito Bitcoin.
I'm deeply sorry for your loss. Unfortunately, we live in a system that will not allow us to thrive or strive and has continually been
Why, yes, Mr. Holmes.
on our necks. So my macro solution for this problem for everyone is to opt out and exit the economy as a whole. And the way we do that is by buying Bitcoin. Thank you.
Note how the cameraman starts moving away from him before he can even say buying Bitcoin.
Is to opt out and exit the economy as a whole. And the way we do that is by buying Bitcoin.
By buying Bitcoin. He got it out. So that was pretty cool. And that's a heck of a hat for Los Angeles this time of year. That's a wool heavy hat, the deer stalker. You see the flaps on the side. Those are to pull down over your ears when it's even colder because it's freezing cold in London all the time. So shout out to my friend Sherlock Holmes out there supporting Bitcoin on Univision. Very cool. This is pretty surprising message from Chuck Grassley, both the content and the ridiculousness. For those of you who are just listening, not watching the video video version here, Senator Grassley appears to be using text messaging lingo so that he can fit his message into just one tweet instead of editing the content of the tweet. Words as got same earful. You could use a better word to use less space, but let's try to read with what Grassley said. There's no apostrophe. Placing holds on number 2, Trump admin noms until I get reasons for firing 2. Those are numbers again. Agency watchdogs as required by law. Not first time. That was like F1ST. I've no apostrophe raised alarm when admins flout IG protection law. Obama did same, ampersand. Got same earful from me. All I want is a reason for firing these people. Checks and balances. Just a tortured statement, both in the style that Grassley's delivering it and what he's asking for. You don't have to, admit, oh, all I want is this, or to say that I have no reason. If you want to place a hold on a nomination, you're a senator. That's your job. If you want to do that, you can do it. You don't have to justify yourself and say that Obama got the same, or that it's all caps, checks and balances. Very tortured and strange statement from Senator Chuck Grassley. Here's a video of the protests in Nashville. The poster says the size is growing every day. You can see truly incredible. It stretches all the way down this block, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 blocks. 5 blocks deep, I'd say. Across this entire parking garage, across this one building, another building, and a street. And it keeps going, another building, another building. I'd say maybe 3 or 4 more blocks, 8 to 10 blocks. I'd say the entire street of Nashville is full of what looks from above peaceful protesters. Incredible scene. Truly amazing to see this many people out chanting and supporting the rights of black people not to be murdered in the street, and for all people not to be murdered in the street, and for anybody not to be murdered. Here's another horrible video. The cops, let's see the description first. This is a different angle from Indianapolis. From this view, you can see the cop grope the woman he's restraining. That's why she breaks away. Then, of course, half a dozen cops beat her for not wanting to be groped. All right. And I don't know if he's really groping her. He does definitely grab her in the front of the chest, trying to restrain her. But it's definitely violent and horrible. They're shooting her with pepper bullets. That's also important. That's not mentioned. Look at this guy with the gun, continuing to shoot. That's... There she's on the ground. Another one's on the ground. More cops come in. She's got the knee on the back of her neck there, so more cops come in. You're gonna need more. So the real action's right here. I mean, right there you can see. So let's go a little slower. So she's being held. Okay, so yeah, he's pretty much groping her there. You can pretty much see the hands go up and down. He has her controlled right there. You go for the arms. Instead of going for the arms, he goes for the chest. She does not like that. Then the other cops tackling her. This cop is shooting these pepper bullets at this girl, just close range, just right here. Boom, boom, boom. Shoot, shoot. 2 women, both being attacked. Then his guy comes up, clubs her straight in the knee. Another club, another club, another club, another club. Here we go with the clubs. Guy's still circling around with the pepper bullet gun or whatever it is. And then, yeah, slamming her. So, just another day in Indianapolis. Let's watch it one more time in full speed. Commentary, hit her too.
Back up! Resist her! Get on the ground! Yes, sir.
Senator Mark Warner calls on Attorney General Barr to resign for ordering the attack on peaceful American protesters. Americans across the country are protesting against police violence, and the police response to that is, wait for it, police violence. Oh, yeah, you knew that. Breaking news from New York. NYS Judge James Burke rules that the NYPD can now keep anyone, peaceful protesters, arrested for curfew violations, and criminal looters, detained for over 24 hours. Given that these are extraordinary times, it's a crisis within a crisis, he said. All writs are denied. Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Manhattan. It's also going to do wonders for spreading the coronavirus, keeping the protesters trapped in small cells, forcing them to breathe each other's air, even with masks on, is a great way to help spread the virus. Thank you, Judge James Burke, for keeping protesters locked up for more than 24 hours and helping spread the virus. The obvious answer here is that they're attempting to lock up all the protesters as if the streets would empty out, as if through multiple layers of overlapping arrests, you would eventually quiet down all the people. I don't see how that's going to work when people keep beating 75-year-old men and knocking them over, when they keep attacking women on the street and pounding them with clubs. It doesn't matter how much you ratchet up the enforcement. More people are simply going to come out. Cops are in New York City again are making violent arrests and beating people with batons at the march in the Bronx. The OP just got hit with a baton and pushed by cops. Let's take a look. Okay, so who is Spider-Man here? What the hell is going on with this guy with the aggressive yellow helmet and the green Under Armour there? Multiple layers here. He seems to be coaching the police officer, saying that you can't have something right there. I don't know what branch of the military this guy is with. Yellow helmet here, Pac-Man. This is very strange. I've never seen anybody like that ever tell a cop what to do. And they attack. Looks like they may have been targeting the press or a woman next to the press. They said you can't have some kind of thing. And they're now rallying around here. Look at Pac-Man is again leading things here. Look at the end. This ununiformed, non-military looking gentleman apparently just got done riding his motorcycle, is commanding these police officers in New York City. They then attack this person, knocking them to the ground, at least 5-on-1, right? You always want to have superior force. But very strange. Who is this Pac-Man gentleman leading the police in New York City, saying right here, attack, 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 attack. Tora, 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 right? You can look that one up. Dallas police. A cop shoots a protester with a rubber bullet, then celebrates with a song. See if you recognize the song. So there it is, police officers singing America, fuck yeah, from the Team America movie, which was actually a satire, when they celebrate shooting a protester with a pepper round. Naomi Klein, who has been talking about this in the shock doctrine, for over 2 decades, says that the most important lesson she's learned is this: when they declare a state of emergency, when they say we don't have the right to protest, that is the moment to flood the streets. It's the only thing that has ever worked. Let's listen to Naomi Klein, author of The Shock Doctrine, from May 9th, 2017.
One moment when it is incredibly important to resist is in that moment when they're trying to scare you. So I just want to put that out there tonight. In that moment, when they're telling you to stay home, that is when you go out. When they're saying stay home, go out. We don't know when it will happen, okay? Flood the streets. That matters more than anything. When they try to take away the right to protest, flood the streets, okay? Get ready.
Get ready.
One moment.
Here's it's supposed to be shocking video, but I think it's just going to be another video today. Los Angeles police officers beating protesters with batons. Oh yeah, he's full on swinging. That's a baseball swing right there. That's a full follow through. Oh, right on the leg. Protester's not attacking. He's not moving forward. And looks like we've got some pepper spray. We got some bullets, rubber bullets coming in. Look at that, full on assault. The people that you live with. These are your neighbors. I don't want to quote Fight Club, but, you know, they wash your dishes, they cook your meals, they tuck your, they keep your home safe while you sleep. Los Angeles police attacking human beings, shooting them, multiple layers. It's pretty brutal. Do you still have the ability to be shocked? Do you remember when it was shocking? It's still pretty shocking. That's like a full choking up, just like hurt people type stance. Guy's not aggressing forward. And the bullets. Comes the rubber bullets. Oh, whatever happened to the good old police force we used to have? Now we have this militarized police force. Good old police force. Militarized police force. What happened? Attorney General Barr is deploying Bureau of Prisons officers on the streets and officers from a mashup of federal agencies who aren't wearing identification and aren't trained in managing mass protests. This is the Twilight Zone, except it's real and it's all happening. Joyce Aline writes, Joyce Vance says, if Barr is creating a personal army, this means that Trump has access to it. Congress needs to act now to prevent this. Don't hold your breath. Shout out to Wasabi Wallet, a very effective decentralized Bitcoin mixer with many privacy-focused options. It provides possibly the most convenient and secure way to mix Bitcoins. Suspects who avoid major slip-ups have a very high probability of staying undetected. Europol. Shout out to Wasabi Wallet from Europol. A nice find by Jameson Lopp. Donald Trump is trailing badly to his Democratic challenger, and now he's going to purge and attack the Grand Old Party. That's his own party. This is Trump attacking Lisa Murkowski, a senator who almost spoke out against him. She didn't even go that far. She's afraid. Trump says, few people know where they'll be 2 years from now, but I do. In the great state of Alaska, which I love, campaigning against Senator Lisa Murkowski. She has voted against health care, Justice Kavanaugh, and much else. Unrelated, I gave ANWR to Alaska. I gave him major highways and more. Get any candidate ready, good or bad, I don't care. I'm endorsing. If you have a pulse, I'm with you. House Democrats unveil pointless legislation to combat police brutality and racial injustice. Without Mitch McConnell in the Senate, it goes nowhere. Impressive demonstration by Hong Kong in violation of the law, celebrating the 31st anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. Never forget, June 4th. As Dr. Jinyang Yong writes, so proud to be a Hong Konger. New York Times says that the Senator Cotton op-ed in which he suggested sending the troops in to attack American citizens did not meet their editing process and the process was rushed. Whatever. Interesting to see a man wearing a shirt that says Hong Kong independence, the only way out, when not too long ago, people would be asking you to stop chanting it if you wanted it. Now it's so mainstream, no one bats an eye in Hong Kong. Meanwhile, in the United States, the president is hiding behind walls. Let's check out the latest.
Wall that encircles the free sectors of this city. Behind me stands a wall that encircles the free sectors of this city, an instrument to impose upon ordinary men and women the will of a totalitarian state. As long as this scar of a wall is permitted to stand, the question of freedom remains open.
Mr. President,
tear down this wall.
That's a pretty good commercial.
Behind me.
Nice use of the old Ronald Reagan Berlin Wall speech. Mr. President, tear down this wall. Pretty good stuff. Buffalo, New York. Police arrest a man while he's being interviewed with his hands in the air. Look at the way they run. Like it's like donuts are on sale or like there's a basketball you have to go get. Look at the way they run.
I don't live in the city of Buffalo. My mosque is over on Genesee Street.
Look at the dogs. Oh, this is another view. Look at them running. Look at this. He's giving an interview. A black man is speaking. Run, run, run. And look at how many of them it takes. They tackle him, knock him to the ground. They chase off the press. Oh, it's the National Guard that brought the dogs. Oh, good job, guys. You're gonna get far in this Gestapo. Oh, yes. Mein Fräulein, Lieutenant, bring the dogs. Das Hund. Ah, das Hund. Aye. More scary stuff from Buffalo, New York. I hope he's okay. Hey, check out the World Crypto Network podcast. It's on iTunes and Spreaker and maybe even SoundCloud these days, or not SoundCloud, Spotify. Spotify is the big one everyone wants, so we're on Spotify. But yeah, I updated it yesterday, and I'll try to update it more often. It's not so great to have these big dumps of tons of audio to listen to, but I don't know. There it is. New podcast audio version. Thanks to Raul Duke in the comments for reminding me to update it. It'd been a while. Matt from Gun says, what the fuck? Honestly, what's going on anymore? There shouldn't be a new video every hour of this shit happening. I'm disgusted. And it's police officers all across the land attacking innocent protesters and just innocent people in general. Pretty cool graphic here. Bunker King with the Trump hair on top. I want to be careful if I open the link. I don't want to lose my place. But yeah, there you go. Bunker King. And of course, we were watching the protests whenever we want to check in with twitch.tv/woke. WOKE has just been providing fantastic coverage of the protests, providing, as you can see here, a 9 different live videos for you to check out, as well as constantly bringing in new videos and cycling out old ones. So check out Woke on Twitch. Buffalo Police Department has ordered the immediate suspension, not enough, of both officers. What about the ones who walked by and did nothing? In the video that everyone has seen 1,000 times and is truly horrible. Here's another angle. They say you can hear his head hit the ground and that he lays unconscious. Oh, yeah, we'll do the zoom. Here it goes. Boom. Ooh. That is a horrible sound. It sounds like a basketball. Just, yeah. It's definitely hard to stay on the police's side after something like this. And they march forward. Look how many see it. Look at all these heads turned. We can just say which ones are guilty. No first aid, no first aid, no first aid, no first aid. Who keeps walking? And again, this will be played at their trial. This will be like Nuremberg. We'll play it with all the officers, all accused of not helping the man in the street. Look, this guy, he stops. He like takes a step over. Like, these are the right instincts, right? We can judge, we can slow things down with the power of video, and we can see all of their individual minuscule actions, how they react to this. Look at this guy. He's just going to keep going forward. No, he stops. He looks over there. He's like, what's going on? Old man lying in the street bleeding. Should we do anything? No, keep going. Protesters are upset about it. Protesters are having human reactions. Look, right here we can see a clear path through the police officers to where the other video was shot. Finally, the National Guard man comes up to at least help the person. At least see what's going on. National Guard guy's taking his backpack off. Look at this. It starts to ripple through the crowd. It's like, do you think that we're part of one of those epic internet videos that'll get played over and over again tomorrow? Like, have we screwed up? Like, we were just all standing here marching, and you know, one of the guys knocked someone down, and this guy here, he's like, yeah, maybe I should go over there and look at that. And this guy's like, yeah, you know, maybe I should go look at that. Remember when I used to be a police officer? Remember it was like protect and serve. Someone would be like, I need help. I'm sick. I'm sad. Like, I just got robbed. I need help. And you would go to these people for help. Does anyone remember? Let's watch it again. So you go. Marching. Everything's cool. You're going to bust some heads. Oh, Twitter video. You have to be very careful. If you slide to the end of Twitter video, it sometimes dumps the whole thing. It's a really great service they provide. I'm surprised no one tests it. Oh, what a sound. So from this moment at the sound, everyone here is part of the event. This guy, camera, drops skateboard, runs forward. Problems, you know? Just stand there. Look at the line. They just want to move forward. This is one of those examples of the individual versus the group. The group has no problem smashing the individual. Obviously, to the individual, this is life-stopping. Everything's stopped. He's knocked unconscious. He's no longer playing a part in this drama. He's inactive. But everyone else in the group all makes choices. Stay in the line. This guy right here, he's like, stay in the line. We're being horrible, brutal. Like, your job is terrible. You should probably just walk off your job at this point. What you do is you take off your riot helmet and you put it on the ground. And then you take off your badge and you just throw it somewhere. You don't have to be a police officer anymore. This is not a death club. You don't have to stay for life. These people can get other jobs. They can stock grocery shelves. Seems how the protesters seem to understand what they should do. But yep, this is being played every day, all day, on every channel. Great job, guys. You're gonna end those protests soon with strategy like that. You're geniuses. I wish we could hire you for more countries' protests. Make them last longer. B-Boy Bullybays writes, a fun fact about Rand Paul filibustering an anti-lynching bill is that it's actually in keeping with the traditional function of the filibuster, which is to kill anti-lynching bills. Lynching, hanging an African-American man for no reason, still not specifically illegal in the United States, because you'd hate to specify something like that. They tried again today to pass an anti-lynching bill. Senator Rand Paul filibustered. He spoke and read garbage and nonsense until they stopped the bill. There it is again. Pushing him down. Just thinking about what's going on and put together some pictures. There's George Floyd with his head on the ground, the officer's knee on his neck. You can't really see from there. There you go. There's the White House, all dark. There's Trump holding up a Bible. And there's the new wall around Lafayette Square and the White House. And I tried to think of something to go with these, and all I could come up with was good old W.B. Yeats, The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. And, as if on cue, a lightning strike in Washington, D.C. hits the Washington Monument dead on, like the lightning rod that it is. Incredible video, incredible lightning. Between this and the earthquake the other day, and there was supposed to be killer hornets or something, killer bees of some kind again. The virus, the second wave of the virus, the violence in the street, the continued violence in the street, the adding of incidents. Certainly, we have the death of George Floyd. They had his memorial service yesterday. It was on TV. It was very moving. Sharpton gave a really good speech, maybe the best speech he's ever given. Usually, I'm more of a Reverend Jesse Jackson guy than a Sharpton guy, which is a shame because you don't see as much of Reverend Jesse Jackson these days anymore. He was in the crowd, but no, Sharpton gave a really powerful speech, and just what crazy times these are. Everything happening at once. Seems like a reasonable request. Dear CNN and Don Lemon, why don't you run a collection of police brutality videos that have been taken during George Floyd protests across the country? There are literally hundreds of videos of police officers violently assaulting peaceful protesters. Let the world see them. Might be a nice montage, something to play on the evening news. It appears that one of the officers who shoved and gave a serious head wound to the peaceful protester who was 75 years old in Buffalo, New York, is named Aaron Torgalski of the Buffalo, New York Police Department. Please tweet this address to the Buffalo Police. This is criminal assault. And he should be fired, not just suspended. It's not enough. Fired and charged. Chicago police are investigating after this video surfaced online. I think we watched it yesterday, but now that they're investigating, let's check it out one more time. Wow, that's just punching. And then standing up against the woman over her. But yeah, just open punching. Like, he's got a club in one hand, but that's not good enough. Look at the way he runs like a football player, like dodging. Like normally you see this like, oh, my wife's about to have a baby. Get out of my way. I've got to get there. Or we've got to push the button. We've got to save the company and shut down the stock exchange. But no, this is to hurt somebody. Guy's motivated. Dun 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 dun. Bam! Knocks him over backwards. Full wind up, and he's got a club in one hand, but he's gonna punch him with his fist. This is a personal anger. This is like a vendetta. Fist again. Hit him again. So let's see. Twitter video. Great work. Great. Look at him just standing over her. And then the rest of the officers, they don't say, hey, slow down there, buddy. You just hit that guy with a fist twice. Maybe you've gone a little far today. No, they join in. They ring around. This is really bad stuff from Chicago. I love the beginning when he charges up, like multiple. I'm Superman. I got to hurt this guy. He almost attacked a police officer. You know what they used to call that? They used to call that berserker rage. The Vikings were into it. They would drink a bunch of wine and liquor and whatever else they had, and they would get psyched up before the battles. And the Vikings would just go out in this rage, and you just swing two swords in any direction, kill anything. Just stab and kill and just rage. It's nice to see the police officer in Chicago so freely expressing his rage against the human beings he's paid to protect. It's quite something. Shout out to John Stoller's editorial board. Elon Green writes, one thing that links all these videos is that the cops appear to be enjoying themselves. And the other guy writes, this is not as widely understood as it should be. But yes, there's a certain amount of people who are out there who are beating the shit out of other people, and they're enjoying it. And you can see them singing Team America after they shoot a guy, cheering and clapping on the backs. Even right here in Las Vegas, they were attacking photojournalists and people who dared to cross the street, and afterwards just celebrating at their lines. It's really amazing because everyone wants, just like with the virus, I think there's a general belief that, if we could have a satisfying end to these protests or some kind of a denouement, an ending, right? We could go back to normal, or we could go back to reforming the system and these kind of things. There'd be progress, these kind of things that would end the situation. I think most people want that kind of thing. But then there's these other people that want to smash people with clubs and hit people with their fists. And I don't know that they want the thing to end, right? They might like this, or they think they can end it with the violence, is what I guess it really is. They think that the more people they hit and the more people they punch, the more likely they are not to come out the next day. Right? I don't know. I don't know what they think, but it doesn't seem like they're going to win. And nothing to worry about here. Coronavirus cases continue to rise in the United States. What states are they rising in? Just Washington, Montana, Idaho, California, Utah, Arizona, Texas, Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alaska, and Florida. Just all of those states. Of course, this is fine. There's nothing to see here. And everything is just going to work out great. Just ignore the virus. There it is again. And another thing about this is that the Buffalo police first reported this as the gentleman tripped and fell. And they suspended the 2 officers without pay because he tripped and fell. So again, if we didn't have the cell phone video, would this be the same? This is the gentleman that the officers say tripped and fell in Buffalo, New York. And you know who's guilty on that? All of the reporting officers, all of the managing officers, everybody who writes that into the book, the guy who puts that on the thing. Every person in that chain of command is responsible for the lie that he tripped and fell. And the fact that they can still think they can get away with that, the fact they're still trying that, maybe they can get away with it. They only suspended them. They didn't fire them. I've been at lots of jobs where if you screw up even the smallest thing, you would be instantly fired. And I'm not talking about like beating up a 75-year-old man, small thing. Any small thing. It must be great to be a police officer. You can beat up anybody you want, never get fired. Meanwhile, Roberta Burrell writes, her husband, a lifelong Republican, just got his mail-in ballot for our primary in New York, and he chose Joe Biden. I sealed it, and it's in the mail with much love and pride. More and more Republicans simply cannot stand what is happening in their name. Remember, if you voted for Trump, or if you're about to vote for Trump again, you're basically saying that you like all of this, and you support all of this, and the man with no plan, the man whose plan is to simply, I don't know, beat it out of him, it's a great plan. Vote for him again, you're responsible. This sounds good. It's about Los Angeles and Mayor Garcetti, and the gentleman Rivers Langley writes, don't fuck with a city where everyone is unemployed and has a bachelor's degree in filmmaking. Let's check out this short film from Los Angeles. Oh no, Twitter video. Oh, Twitter video, you plague. I just want to start from the beginning. It's not that. A person wants to start the video from the beginning when they go full screen.
As long as I'm mayor.
Dangerous operation.
As long as I'm mayor, our entire city leadership is committed to protecting First Amendment rights. And we are committed to the peaceful and safe expression of those rights.
Police are shooting at unarmed people. Why are you shooting us?
We have police officers. They put their lives on the line. Our guardians put themselves out there bravely every single day.
I got shot in the head. My brain's bleeding.
And no, none of us are perfect. We're human beings.
Stop! I didn't do anything! I didn't do anything! I'm sorry, I swear! I swear! I didn't do anything!
They pointed guns at us. They're pointing guns at us.
We have people mourning the death of this man, George Floyd. We had people capitalizing. His death is on their hands, as much as it is those officers.
When I heard him say what he said, I knew that he did not mean that. They are trained and continuously trained to make sure that we have a model that is about de-escalating. And violence is never the answer to violence, even if it's thousands of miles away. We saw images of officers on the line exercising restraint we expect of them.
Stop! Stop it!
We know that it is only with peace
Fucking stop it!
that progress can follow.
We see you! We
powerful short film out of Los Angeles, produced in a very short amount of time. We're going to see a lot more of these as things continue. Shout out to Jason Scott at textfiles.com. They discussed a little while ago about a version of SimCity known as Sim Refinery that was actually made for some of the refining companies. It says Chevron, so that they could, I don't know, practice putting refineries in. But it was unavailable. Someone made a video about it, and now, thanks to the video, a copy of Sim Refinery has been found, and it's likely that a playable version will appear in the Internet Archive soon. So, very cool. In Las Vegas, right here, we've got Black Lives protesters at the Bellagio fountain. The fountains have reopened, as well as the casinos, to help spread that virus. We're doing our part. Everyone wants more people to die from the virus, so a lot of people are not wearing masks, volunteering to spread the virus. You see, I have some good, responsible people right here trying not to spread the virus, but a lot of people are working against them, working overtime, making sure that that virus spreads. So, as well as the virus of police brutality, which continues in America. Apparently, pushing an elderly man to the ground and then standing around doing nothing while he bleeds on the sidewalk is a real line crossing for some people. How many walked by and didn't even provide basic first aid? One guy is calling for backup, but most just stand there or walk by. Malibu Carby writes, "That video of the cops pushing the old man shakes me to my core. You can hear his head hit the pavement. He's 75 fucking years old. That was so unnecessary, I can't. Why are they being that aggressive?" And you can see in the video, one of the cops bends down to check on him, but he gets pulled away before he can help by a fellow officer. The officer that pulls him away also happens to be one of the two officers that pushed him down. He's 75 years old, and he's bleeding from his head. Disgusting. In Minneapolis, council members are considering disbanding the police. Later, this article was updated to say that Minneapolis had indeed disbanded the police force, fired them all. I think this article is satire, but I can't really tell anymore. So let's check it out. NRA, the National Rifle Association, accidentally forgets to rise up against tyrannical government. An embarrassed National Rifle Association says it totally forgot to do the one thing it's been saying for years it is solely there to do. Our whole reason for lobbying for looser gun laws and amassing huge personal arsenals of weapons these past years so that we could ensure the security of a free state and protect the people from an oppressive government. And then it actually happened. And the whole rising up against tyrannical government thing just totally slipped our minds, which is a little embarrassing. A sheepish NRA CEO, Wayne LaPierre, said. He said the morale around the NRA had been pretty low. The guys just feel pretty silly. We had our well-regulated militia stocked up and ready to go, just waiting for the moment when the government would turn on its own people. And then the government started shooting protesters and rolling tanks down the street. And we're like, guys, this is the one we've been talking about. Let's go. But then something else came up and we forgot to do it. Damn it. Observers were shocked that the NRA had missed their opportunity to defend their country. I can't believe it, one analyst said. It's almost as if they weren't worried about the government at all. It's as if they were just scared of black people. from The Shovel at theshovel.com.au. This is what the police are doing. Leslie Furcon was shot between the eyes with a rubber bullet by a sniper on a building top. Why? Kumali Najani from Silicon Valley writes, that awful video. Buffalo police officially said that the man tripped and fell. If we didn't have video, there would be no accountability. Why? Because one bad apple pushed him down, but 20 good apples would have let him get away with it. It's systemic. Minneapolis City Council says that the Minneapolis police will be dismantled and replaced with a transformative new model of public safety. I don't know about the second part, but I like the first part. Scott Dworkin writes, the officers who shoved the 75-year-old man down in Buffalo have been suspended without pay, but they should also be fired, arrested, and charged with assault. Raise your hand if you agree. Hashtag Trump attacked peaceful Americans. And maybe a lighter note to end on. Well, we're not near the end yet, but this is a lighter note. Mayor Bowser is kicking the Utah National Guard out of all D.C. hotels tomorrow. More than 1,200 troops from 10 states are being evicted. And Senator Mike Lee believes this is unacceptable. But everyone else is very excited that we've just used the quartering law. That's right. The Third Amendment has been invoked, the right of the people not to quarter troops within their cities or houses or hotels. So the first time, I think the first time in history that the no quarter law has ever been used and invoked. Pretty cool stuff. George Takei writes, if you think that the military can't be used against American citizens on the order of the president, you weren't evicted from your home at bayonet point and then packed on trains off to a barbed wire enclosed internment camp. And it can happen again if we don't remain vigilant. Black Lives protesters spent tens of thousands of dollars to send anti-COVID masks to thousands of protesters across the country. Law enforcement seized the shipment. And as you can see here, the masks would have been unifying and probably worn by all the protesters. It says, "Stop killing black people," in bright yellow letters on a black mask. Would have been very effective in slowing the spread of the coronavirus, as well as sending a message and providing unity for the protesters. A shout out to The Onion and the Third Amendment Rights Group celebrating another successful year. The National Anti-Quartering Association, America's foremost Third Amendment rights groups, held its annual gala in Washington Monday to honor 191 consecutive years of advocating the protection of private homes and property against the unlawful boarding of military personnel. This is a proud day for quarters owners everywhere, said the organization's president, Charles Davidson, in his keynote address. Year after year, we have sent a loud and clear message to the federal government and to anyone else who would attack our unassailable rights. Hands off our cottages, livery stables, and hay lofts. The NACWA was created in 1816 in response to repeated violations of the Third Amendment during the War of 1812. So there were violations. The organization quickly grew in influence and cites its vigilance as the primary reason why the amendment has only been litigated once in a federal court since the Bill of Rights was ratified. The organization is also arguably the country's most powerful political lobby. Every politician elected since 1866 has fully supported Third Amendment rights. The framers of the Constitution provided the American people with the right to have their homes free of troops, unless Congress mandates otherwise during a time of war, Davidson said. Thanks to our tireless efforts, 6 generations of civilians have never known the cruelty and duress of quartering unruly foot soldiers. Davidson recalls the dark days of 1982 when the federal case of Engblom versus Carey threatened to strip Americans of their fundamental Third Amendment freedoms. The ruling by the Second Circuit Court of Appeals acknowledged that the state of New York had indeed violated the Third Amendment rights of the plaintiffs. The case, according to Davidson, was a chilling reminder of how even an established 200-year-old right hangs by a slender thread. I don't think people fully understand how close we came to completely losing such a basic right, Davidson said. If the Second Court had ruled otherwise, we'd be living in a world in which soldiers would be quartering amongst our very hearthstones. Davidson expressed pride in the NACA's grassroots involvement at the local level, citing the association's direct mailing campaigns and its fully staffed regional centers where citizens can report Third Amendment rights abuses. The NACA also holds quartering safety seminars for citizens involved in learning how to effectively defend their households against U.S. troops seeking shelter. Davidson reiterated the organization's promise to oppose pro-quartering legislation should any ever be proposed. Keep the fat hands of soldiers out of America's larders, Davidson said to rousing applause. He was quoting the NACA's familiar slogan, which can be found on T-shirts, bumper stickers, and other merchandise sold on the group's website. He ended his address by warning of the dangers of NACA resting on its laurels. Pro-quartering advocates are waiting for just the right moment to stick a bunch of troops in our homes. Well, I say to them that we will never allow this to happen. You can count on the true patriots of the NACA to ensure that no chickens and livestock will be appropriated and private stores of salt, brandy, candles, and vinegar will stay firmly where they belong, in civilian hands. The NACA is known for its quick and aggressive mobilization when it believes Third Amendment rights are in risk, and has rushed to the defense of homeowners it believes are being illegally coerced into housing American soldiers. Last month, 200 NACA members marched on a private residence in Fairfax, Virginia, after receiving a tip that the owners were being victimized by 3 Navy seamen demanding prolonged quartering. They ended their demonstration, however, when it was learned that the sailors were brothers on shore leave visiting their parents. Davidson has headed the NACA since January, replacing longtime President Lawrence Frost. Frost, 58, left the organization to chair the Citizens Committee for the Right to Drink, a 21st Amendment rights group committed to the continued legal status of alcohol for Americans of drinking age. Great stuff from The Onion. Truly great. As Pope Guilty writes, we have Third Amendment invocation. Repeat, we finally used the Third Amendment. It's pretty exciting stuff, really. Meanwhile, President Trump shares a letter that calls peaceful protesters terrorists. Oh well. Terrorists. Here's a crowd here from Alabama. The same people the president just called terrorists, peacefully sitting and observing a moment of silence for George Floyd. This is in Alabama. Peaceful protesters. The president is calling them terrorists. Shortly after that, the entire crowd took a knee. This is in Mountain Brook, Alabama. As the author says, this is in my congressional district, one of the reddest in America. Meanwhile, in lighter news, someone actually did it. They reenacted the famous commercial, one of the Kardashians, Kourtney maybe. She gives a Pepsi to the police officers. Once the police officers have one sip of that delicious sugary soda that rots your teeth and makes you fat, the whole protest was over and we were all friends again. So at least someone tried. The officers do not seem interested in the Pepsi. Samantha J. Power writes, the officers who killed George Floyd did so on camera. Many officers now beating protesters do so knowing that their actions are being filmed. Being recorded doesn't seem to deter them. History has surely convinced these men that they're beyond the reach of justice. And it just might be time to end impunity, which is the law that allows the police not to be sued for their actions. Normally at your job, let's say that you were repairing computers, but instead of repairing the secretary's computer, you pulled out a baton, broke her leg, and smashed her in the head. You would be tried for that, even though you were there to fix the computer. That would be against the law to assault the secretary violently and without reason, right? But if you were a police officer and you'd come over to investigate the computer because maybe it had been stolen or used in some kind of illegal activity, and you then decided to smash the secretary, break her leg, and smash her in the head, you couldn't be charged for that because you were a police officer there doing your job. Maybe you could be fired, but maybe you could be sued civilly. You could pay them some money to make them feel better. But no, you couldn't be criminally charged as a police officer because you have impunity. Isn't that great? It's like Dogbert said on Dilbert many years ago. Diplomatic immunity. It's a license to kill and steal. Here's a delivery guy. I remember a few weeks ago when grocery workers and delivery men and nurses and doctors were a big deal because we were still trying to fight the coronavirus, which we forgot about. It's still out there. But watch as the delivery man tries to get by the police. What do you think he's there to do? Deliver food? Can't have that. Clicky click sounds.
It tells me not to show you guys you can't arrest me. Are you serious? Are you serious?
The state did say that food workers were protected. The state did say he was a hero delivering food to people. Calm down. You're making a scene. You're making it hard for us to take you away. It's almost like everything you say is going to be filmed and on the internet tomorrow, and we're all going to lose our jobs. Calm down. This is another pretty telling tweet. These are only a couple of words here, but I want you to really internalize and think about this. Part of the reason why undercover cops are so laughably easy to spot is because their fear of being brutalized by their colleagues is stronger than their interest in blending in with the crowd. They're not afraid of the public. They're afraid of the brutality of the fellow police. That's why you often see them with those identifiable white rings on their arms, or a bandana tied in a strange way, or cop boots, things like this. You want to make sure they know that you're with the home team, right? And we've got great job numbers this morning, 2.5 million new jobs in America. It's still like 13% unemployment, which is incredibly bad, worse than any time previous in our lifetimes, really, since the last 30, 40 years. but don't worry about where they came from. Dr. Rachel Bidikofer says, I'd be happy to accept these job numbers, but first I'm going to need to verify the accounting process that created them, because we're talking about massive departures from what the underlying data suggested. So maybe, just maybe, there was a change to the formula ordered from above. Could these be bad data? Gary Kasparov, chess master. I'm less concerned with a U.S. senator's views being unfit for the New York Times than I am with those views being completely unfit for a U.S. senator. Referring to Tom Cotton's article suggesting that troops should be used against American people. Walter Schaub, journalist, writes, the sheer number of incidents of police brutality captured on film in the past week ought to have everyone thinking about what they do when they know the cameras are not running. Police wouldn't be doing this if they didn't feel they had impunity. They're counting on no accountability and apathy. They have to be proven wrong. Oh, this is a great one. So this is from, not sure, Salem, Oregon.
Okay. They really enforce the citywide curfew shutdown so we can arrest anybody who's walking around. Okay. My command wanted me to come talk.
So they say the man on the left is an armed Proud Boy, apparently a white supremacist. And the guy says, my command wanted me to come talk to you guys and request that you guys remain discreetly inside the buildings or your vehicles somewhere where it's not a violation.
You guys a request that you guys secrete either inside the buildings or in your vehicle somewhere where it's not a violation. I don't think we can, so we don't look like we're playing favorites.
So we don't look like we're playing favorites. Uh-oh, the camera was on. So in Salem, Oregon, this police officer and perhaps his supervisor both think that it's a good idea to warn these white supremacists who are armed to get off the street so that the police wouldn't have to ignore them and play favorites. Oh, that's a good thing they caught that on video.
Okay. My command wanted me to come talk to you guys and request that you guys secrete either inside the buildings or in your vehicle somewhere where it's not a violation. I don't think we can, so we don't look like we're playing favorites. We can go interior. That would really enforce the.
So we don't look like we're playing favorites. That's pretty weird. Emphasizing the word look. Said that his commanding officer told him to say that. Meanwhile, the president is tweeting and taking credit for the unemployment rate. He hasn't tweeted or taken responsibility for unemployment insurance claims, which have topped 40 million. And as we reported the other day, more than a third of those claims have not been paid out. So Wall Street got their money. They took 90% of it or more. The people, their money, a third of it is just trapped. In Nevada, they haven't paid out a single dime. They haven't paid the unemployment. Just didn't pay it. Whoops. And here's the Third Amendment in 2020. All right. That's pretty great. Let's see who's zooming up. Yeah, it's up. Bam. Quartering amendment. Didn't think I'd ever see that used. Not since the War of 1812. The quartering amendment. How about that? Jess Dweck writes, it's weird that there's an adult job you can have that's just walking around with a stick to beat people. That is weird. And they're just starting here. This is on south of K Street on 16th Street in Washington, D.C. But they must have had a deal with the city where it was allowed. They're printing Black Lives Matter in huge letters across the street. You can see the Washington Monument in the background, and that's the White House right down there. So pretty impressive. We have the finished version coming up soon. The NYPD pepper sprayed a man to death in his cell yesterday. His name was Jamel Floyd. Jamel Floyd. Pepper sprayed to death in his cell by the NYPD. It would be a real shame if the protesters had this information and went to the hardware store. It would be a shame if the protesters began making their signs out of inch-thick plywood to stop rubber bullets, forming a tight shield wall to prevent police from signaling out and mobbing individual protesters. It would be a shame if the people behind the shield wall held up umbrellas so that tear gas canisters fired over the heads of the front line will be bounced away. It would be a shame if protesters began constructing improvised armor vests out of duct tape, hardback books, and ceramic tiles. It would be a shame if protesters started wearing safety glasses, hard hats, respirators, and gardening gloves, all which can be found at the same hardware stores as the plywood. It would be a shame if they started using traffic cones, the kind without the hole in the top, upside-down buckets, or other improvised lids to contain tear gas by placing them over the canisters. It would be a shame if protesters learned that police scanners are legal to own in the U.S., allowing them to learn where police are moving and what routes they intend to take. It would be a shame if they discovered these scanners can also be used to send as well as receive, allowing them to flood the scanner frequencies with noise. All of this would be a terrible, terrible shame. Shout out to General Bytes announcing 8,000 Bitcoin ATMs globally. 8,000 different places in the world where you can now buy Bitcoin. Great stuff from General Bytes. I saw this on Twitter. This was June 5th. So, that's today or yesterday or whatever. It's just too late, Brian. It's just too late, Brian Armstrong. I don't know why you're doing this. This is some of these tone-deaf CEO things. But on June 5th, apparently at 3:15 a.m., Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, wanted to let everyone know that he says this tweet, "I want to unequivocally say that Black Lives Matter." That's great, Brian. Oh, that was it. That's all you get. Yeah, I don't know why he did that. It's so embarrassing. I guess maybe if he did it in the beginning, it would be more interesting. Maybe if he announced a program or something at Coinbase, they're going to introduce Bitcoin to urban kids or some kind of thing for the people. Of course, Dan the Dark Pill brilliantly brings up that time when Coinbase hired a team who had human rights abuses in their past. That's right. Coinbase newest team members helped authoritarians worldwide monitor journalists and dissidents. Oh, that's some bad hiring. The hacking team, that's what they used to be called before they were hired by Coinbase, has been criticized for selling its products and services to governments with poor human rights records, including Sudan, Bahrain, Venezuela, and Saudi Arabia. In June 2014, a United Nations panel monitoring the implementation of sanctions on Sudan requested information from Hacking Team about their alleged sales of software to the country in contravention of the United Nations. In contravention of the United Nations weapons export bans to Sudan. Documents leaked in the 2015 data breach of Hacking Team revealed the organization sold Sudanese National Intelligence and Security Service access to their remote control system software in 2012 for €960,000. In response to the United Nations panel, the company responded in January 2015 that they were not currently selling to Sudan. In a follow-up exchange, Hacking Team asserted that their product was not controlled as a weapon, so the request was beyond the scope of the panel. There was no need for them to disclose previous sales, which they considered confidential business information. Great job, Coinbase, hiring people with bad human rights records. But at least he tweeted that he wants to say. Also, just the phrasing is bad. It kind of has an old-timey phrasing. I want to. Well, please do. You can say anything you want. How about you could just say, I say that Black Lives Matter. That'd be good. I guess it doesn't sound quite as grandstandy or important. A very important person is speaking now. So everyone listen. Please listen to this important person. He found Bitcoin early and he started a company about it where he could centralize a decentralized thing. So he's special. They're surprised that Donald Trump didn't fly out to the Abraham Lincoln in a jet fighter to stand under a mission accomplished banner and tell the world how great he is because unemployment went up a little bit. Or went down a little bit, sorry. Shout out to Bot Sentinel and Christopher Bouzet, who told Digital Trends inauthentic accounts are sharing and amplifying this stuff 24/7, and millions of legitimate users are exposed to this propaganda. Bot Sentinel is a great program that helps Twitter find bots, and Twitter, of course, needs to buy them and integrate it, but instead they just ignore it. Just ignore the problem. Donald Trump's doing a press conference at 10 a.m. He's got to make it quick. Now that he's saved the world, he has an 11 a.m. tea time. Ha ha ha. Joke aside, the president was going to go golfing today, but now is stuck in the White House. What a bummer. What a bad decision to build that wall around the White House. Now you can never leave. Trump cancels trip to his New Jersey resort amid protests. It would look especially bad if he was golfing now. Darn. Check out police funding. $115 billion. Check out the CDC funding. Only $11 billion. It's almost as the reason we didn't have face masks and goggles for the doctors is because all the money was spent on police. I wonder. Here's an unarmed, disabled man who was shot in the head by police. You can see him there, bleeding. You can see the police in the back, advancing, bringing up their weapons. And you can see there a close-up of the disabled homeless man in a wheelchair. Los Angeles police shoot him in the head. And remember, again, we talked about rubber bullets, how they're supposed to be shot at the ground. They're supposed to be scaring people, not hurting people. But if you do shoot them specifically at the eye, you could kill people or blind them for life. So it's a specific no, not to shoot these rubber or pepper bullets at people's heads. They're supposed to be shooting them at the ground. They're supposed to be ricocheting. Former Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Martin Dempsey has joined the voices of the retired generals. Trump's threat to use the military on the protesters is very dangerous. More and more former military are speaking out. Still nothing from the active duty military. A surprising lesson and words of wisdom from Herman Munster in 1965. It's just 30 seconds. Let's listen to what Herman has to say. Of course, famously the Frankenstein character in the Munsters sitcom.
The lesson I want you to learn is it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be tall or short, or fat or thin, or ugly, or handsome, like your father. You can be black or yellow or white. It doesn't matter. But what What does matter is the size of your heart and the strength of your character. The lesson I want you to learn is it.
That was really good, huh? Too bad they put the music up too loud. But it's your character. It's what's in your heart. It's not what you look like or where you're from or anything like that. Here's a video of what New York City looks like right now. All the shops are boarded up. It's actually even worse than coronavirus. I guess that the virus things were just closed. But now things are actively boarded up to protect them from the violence of the police and the looters. Breaking news. One of Maine's largest newspapers just called on Trump to resign a few hours before he travels there.
What's up, guys? I have some.
Stop. I've lost my place. It's happened. Yeah. Check this out really quick. More positive news. Trying to end on something positive. This is an emulator for the Nintendo that emulates Nintendo games into 3D. Check this out. It's pretty cool. They're playing Gunsmoke or Gunman's Alley, Hogan's Heroes or something. And you can see he fully rotates around the characters. You can see the depth of the sombrero, the shadows. Apparently it's partially adaptive, but also the guy made special tricks to make it work for each game. But you can see what a 2D Nintendo game might look like in 3D. How cool is this? There's Bomberman, Super Bomberman. Here's a Breakout. You could just play Breakout from a different angle. How about that? That's pretty fun, huh? The 2D code rendered in 3D gives it a little kick. Hey, there's good old Mega Man 1. Classic. What a different look that is. Still on a 2D plane, but 3D. So pretty cool. Check that out. Link is on Twitter. Also, shout out to Patent Plays. Good stuff playing those cool 3D Nintendo games. How fun is that? Also, we've got a shout out to Dan over at Crypto Raptor. Dan says the first leaderboard bonus winner at Reward Portal is from Venezuela. He just stacked 350,000 sats from Satoshi surveys on Reward Portal. So check that out, rewardportal.com. You can answer surveys and try out the Lightning Network. Get yourself some Satoshis. Good stuff. There's more on how Satoshi Nakamoto may have kept his identity secret. He used a Russian proxy. Okay, story done. The president appears to be declaring equality and victory, where there have been no changes from Washington or on how police are held accountable in treating people justly, or even a recognition from the White House that systemic injustices and prejudices exist. He was pretty much trying to change the story this morning, announcing the new unemployment numbers. As you can see here, we do have a graphical version of the employment rate. A truly stunning recovery. You can see the unemployment rate used to be around 4%. Jumps to 14%. That's much higher. And then you can see it declines from 14% to 13.3%. A whole 9 points than it was originally. So, crisis over. Everything's fine again. Not like we have higher unemployment than we did after the 2008 recession, when it was only 10%. Unemployment is still 3.3% higher than that. But this is victory, and everything is fine now. So the president said, "What's happening to our country is the greatest thing that could happen." Just this morning. What is happening to our country is the greatest thing that could happen. And here's the completed Twitter, you're such a plague. Here's the completed graphics from the street. This is 16th Street in Washington, D.C. It says Black Lives Matter. Even has a little equality symbol or a Chicago star at the end. Okay, I guess. And there you can see right there, bam, there's the White House. So the street leading up to the White House, not trick photography. Apparently they had a deal with the city that allowed them to paint it. You can see guys out there right now still painting on it. Black Lives Matter. Right on the street leading to the White House. Pretty cool. Do it? Do we make it to the end? Yes, we did. Also, the world's greatest toady is Mike Pence. World's greatest toady. He's the best. Well, we're over 2 hours, and we made it to the end of the show. So I'd just like to thank everyone for watching. Give us a thumbs up and a share. Subscribe down below. Hit the bell for notifications. And be sure to click on those emails if you want the notifications to keep coming. Otherwise, YouTube will turn them off. If you'd like to donate, you could donate now to help support the show. Donate Bitcoin. We are now 0.12% towards our goal of raising $1 million in Bitcoin. You could donate now $5, $10. You can also use the Lightning Network. Right here is a QR code from Tallycoin that would send $10 in Lightning Network to help support the show. So thanks so much for watching. We'll be back again a little bit later today for the Bitcoin group. Once again, we're going to have to talk about everything that's going on in the world because sometimes things are bigger than Bitcoin. It'd be great if we had some kind of price movement or a new invention in Bitcoin that would make us talk about it all the time again. But until then, we've got to talk about what's happening in the streets and what's happening in the real world and what's important. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks for joining us in the chat for a nice discussion. And be sure to leave a comment later on. Shout out to Roy. He's been doing some time stamping in his comments, just like Jeremy has been time stamping the Bitcoin group for a long, long time, really supporting us and helping out. You can add timestamps to your comments by just typing in the timestamp, like 02:13:35. And that would be a timestamp to almost to where this is. So if you see something that you like, timestamp it. If you want to debate something, timestamp it. If you just think it would be fun to mark the part where the reading ends and the show begins or something like that, feel free to timestamp it in the YouTube comments. Really helps out and helps people discover things in longer shows like this. So thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, bye.